A piece of chalk whizzed past my hair, and I snapped my eyes open, my forehead hitting the desk with a loud thud. Ching-Yuan, if you want to sleep, go home. Math teacher old James' roar made my eardrums ache. I looked around blankly. Sunlight streamed through the classroom windows, casting diamond-shaped patches of light on the desks. Su Chen, sitting in the front row, turned around and winked at me, secretly passing a mint candy from under the desk. This is impossible. The moment my fingertips touched the candy, I jerked my hand back as it burned. On Su Chen's wrist was the Casio watch I had given him for his birthday last year. The strap was a bit worn, but he treasured it and never took it off. What's wrong? He asked in a low voice, his brows slightly furrowed. Exactly as I remembered. I pinched my thigh hard, the pain sharp and real. The calendar at the back of the classroom showed September 12, 2018, exactly 3 months before I would be locked in the sports equipment room and suffocate to death. Nothing, just had a nightmare. I forced a smile and took the candy. The plastic wrapper rustled softly in my palm, just as I remembered, blueberry flavor in my past life. This was my favorite flavor. Nuan, you look terrible. My deskmate Su Xiaoxiao nudged my arm. Want to go to the infirmary? I shook my head, catching a glimpse of the back door of the classroom being gently pushed open. A girl with a ponytail walked in with her head down, and old Zhang just waved her back to her seat. Lin Xia, that name cut through my throat like a blade. In my past life, I didn't know until the moment I died that it was this seemingly timid transfer student who, with her doe-like eyes, seduced Su Chen, and together they planned my accidental death. This is our new transfer student, Lin Xia. Everyone, please take care of her, old Zhang casually introduced, chalk dust falling from his fingertips. I watched Lin Xia's back as she walked to her seat. She was even smaller than I remembered, her school uniform jacket hanging loosely on her shoulders, revealing a wrist so thin it looked like it could snap. But I knew what kind of viper lurked beneath that pitiful facade. I heard her family is really struggling, and she can only attend school with a scholarship. Su Xiaoxiao leaned into gossip. She even applied for financial aid. I tightened my grip on the pen in my hand. In my past life, it was precisely because I sympathized with her plight that I readily agreed when Su Chen suggested letting her join our group. Looking back now, it was nothing more than inviting a wolf into the house. When the bell rang for the end of class, Su Chen immediately turned around and leaned on my desk. Nuan, your parents won't be home this weekend, right? How about I bring you some Chinji roast goose? His eyes sparkled, and there was a tiny tear mole at the corner of his left eye that would sink into the creases when he smiled. When I was 14 and had a high fever, he climbed over the wall to buy me medicine, and when he came back, his knees were scraped raw and bloody. From that day on, I decided I would like him for the rest of my life. Sure, I heard myself say, my voice unnaturally cheerful, but this time I want double the sour plum sauce. Su Chen smiled and ruffled my hair, a gesture he had been doing for 10 years. I forced myself not to flinch, my nails digging deep into my palm. Just then, I noticed his gaze dart over my shoulder, quickly glancing toward the back of the classroom. That angle was Lin Xia's seat. My heart pounded violently in my chest. Pretending to fix my hair, I turned to look. Lin Xia was bent over taking notes, a strand of hair falling to cover half her face, looking focused and demure. But the moment Su Chen looked over, I clearly saw her pen pause, and the tips of her ears flush a suspicious red. So the signs had been there all along. I withdrew my gaze, a cold hatred churning in my stomach. In my past life, I was so foolish that I didn't discover their affair until the moment before my death. By the way, Su Chen suddenly lowered his voice. Isn't there a basketball game next week? The coach said the equipment room needs organizing. My blood ran cold. It was just like this in my past life. He used the excuse of needing help sorting out competition supplies to trick me into that windowless storage room. When my claustrophobia kicked in, I clawed at my own throat, while he and Lin Xia were kissing just outside the door. I might not have time, I cut him off. The student council needs to prepare for the midterm event. A flicker of disappointment passed through Su Chen's eyes, quickly replaced by that gentle, caring expression he always put on for my sake. Don't push yourself too hard then. Let me know if you need any help. How considerate. I almost laughed out loud. In my past life, I was fooled by this very facade for 18 years, only seeing his true colors when I was locked in the dark. Gasping for air after school, I deliberately took my time packing my bag, watching Su Chen exchange a quick glance with Lin Xia before running off to the basketball court. In my past life, I thought he was going to practice. Now I realize he was just rushing to meet his true love in secret. Nuan, want to walk together? Su Xiaoxiao called out to me from the doorway. You go ahead, I'm waiting for someone. I smiled and waved, Once the classroom was empty, I walked straight to Lin Xia's seat. Her desk was exceptionally tidy, with textbooks arranged by size and every pen in the pencil case pointing in the same direction. I gently pulled open the drawer, and besides a copy of Pride and Prejudice, there was a neatly folded note. The moment I unfolded the note, my breath caught in my throat. On it was Su Chen's handwriting. "See you at the usual place on Saturday. Remember to bring an umbrella. Star." Star was Su Chen's nickname, known only to those closest to him, in my past life. He always said it was a term of endearment exclusive to me, but it turned out to be nothing but a joke. I put the note back exactly as it was, pulled out my phone, and took a photo. Revenge requires patience, and I needed more evidence. As I walked out of the school gate, the sunset dyed the sky blood red. I took a deep breath and sent a message to my mother. "Mom, I want to invite some classmates over for dinner this weekend." My mother quickly replied, "Is it Su Chen? That kid is sensible. You should learn from him." I stared at the screen with a cold smirk. Yeah, he sure knew how to win over the elders. In my past life, after I died, he even cried himself into a faint at the funeral, tricking my parents into treating him like their own son. When I got home, I went straight to my desk and took out a notebook from the drawer. In my past life, I never paid attention to these details, but now I had to make the most of every opportunity. Opening the notebook, I began recording all the interactions I had observed between Su Chen and Lin Xia today. My phone suddenly vibrated. Su Chen sent a message. "Nuan Nuan, are you home yet? Want to discuss the derivative problem the teacher covered today together." I stared at this message that had made my heart race in my past life, but now it only made me feel sick. He was never genuinely trying to help me with my studies. He just wanted an excuse to pry into my relationship with Lin Xia. "Sure. See you at the library tomorrow," I replied, adding, "I invited Lin Xia to join our study group." The message showed as read, and Su Chen immediately called. I pressed the answer button and heard his deliberately lowered voice. "Really? How did you suddenly? Isn't she good at English?" "She can help me with that," I said in a deliberately naive tone. "Besides, she seems pretty lonely." Su Chen's breathing became noticeably rapid. "Nuan Nuan, you're so kind. I'll definitely arrive early tomorrow." Hanging up the phone, I stood by the window and looked down at the campus. Was this where I had suffocated to death in my past life, locked in the equipment room? No, it was where they had locked me in to die. The police ruled it an accident because there was a witness who saw me enter the equipment room alone. That witness was Lin Xia, who had just transferred to the school. The next morning, I deliberately arrived at school early. In front of the locker at the end of the hallway, Lin Xia was standing on tiptoe, trying to reach the top compartment. She wore a school uniform that had been washed pale, and the back of her neck was so thin that the outline of her spine protruded, making her look fragile and harmless. "Need some help?" I walked up to her, catching a faint scent of soap on her. Lin Xia was clearly startled, and the book slipped from her hands. We crouched down together to pick them up, and her fingers were abnormally cold. Thank you," she stammered, not daring to meet my eyes. In my past life, I took this for shyness. Now I realize it was a guilty conscience. "You're Lin Xia, right? I'm Qingwan." I deliberately used a cheerful tone. "I heard you're good at English. How about we team up for the next group project?" Lin Xia's eyes widened slightly, then she lowered her gaze. I'm not very good at working with others." "It's okay, Su Chen will join too." I dangled the bait, satisfied to see her eyelashes flutter. "He's my childhood friend, a really nice person." "Su Chen, that classmate." She pretended to think for a moment, then, "Okay." The class bell rang, and we walked back to the classroom one after the other. Su Chen was already in his seat. When he saw Lin Xia and me entering together, the pen in his hand dropped to the floor. I sat down as if nothing had happened, pulled an exquisite journal out of my backpack, and handed it to him. "Here, I passed by a stationery store yesterday and thought this would be good for your notes." Su Chen took the journal. The gold-embossed word "Dream" on the cover sparkled in the sunlight. In my past life, he had used this very journal to record every date with Lin Xia, until I accidentally discovered it. "Thanks." He stroked the cover, but his gaze drifted toward Lin Xia. I pretended not to notice, turned around, and pulled out another pink one of the same style from my backpack. "Lin Xia, this is for you." I placed the journal on her desk. "Consider it a welcome gift for our group project." Lin Xia looked up in surprise, finally meeting my eyes this time. Her eyes were a light brown, like melted honey. No wonder Su Chen had fallen for her. In my past life, I had been fooled by those very eyes. It wasn't until I was locked in the equipment room that I heard the owner of those eyes say, "Stop struggling, Qingwan." Su Chen said this room has great soundproofing. I can't accept this, she murmured in refusal, but her fingers unconsciously traced the cover. Just take it, I said with a smile. I bought too many. During PE class, I used my period as an excuse to sit out and observe the activity on the field from under the shade of a tree. Su Chen, as the sports monitor, was counting equipment, and Lin Xia was assigned to his group. I watched them walk shoulder to shoulder toward the equipment room, with Su Chen considerately pushing open the heavy iron door for her. Memories came flooding back. In my past life on this same day, I was locked in a storage locker in the girls' changing room for an entire class period. At the time, I thought it was just a classmate's prank, but now I understand that Su Chen was getting back at me for Lin Xia, because the day before, Lin Xia's essay lost to mine, costing her the scholarship bonus points. I pulled out my phone, switched it to silent mode, and aimed it at the equipment room, taking several photos in succession. Because of the distance, the images were a bit blurry, but they were clear enough to identify Su Chen and Lin Xia. They had been inside for 10 minutes now, far longer than needed to pick up equipment. 5 minutes before the bell rang, the two finally came out one after the other. Lin Xiao's cheeks were flushed with an unnatural redness, while Su Chen pretended to adjust his collar but was actually wiping the corner of his mouth. I saved the photos and stood up, heading toward the group that was about to disband. When Su Chen saw me, he immediately jogged over. Nuanyuan, are you feeling better? Do you want to go to the infirmary? His concern sounded so sincere that if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have guessed that he had just been making out with another girl in the equipment room. I'm fine. I deliberately swayed a little, just a bit dizzy. Su Chen immediately steadied me by the shoulders, and this action drew whispers from a few girls. Everyone knew we were childhood sweethearts. In my past life, I secretly delighted in this, but now it just made me sick. I'll walk you back to the classroom. He took my water bottle, his other hand hovering lightly behind my back, acting with meticulous care. As I passed by Lin Xia, I clearly heard her let out a soft tsk. Su Chen's fingers tensed nervously against my back for a moment, but quickly returned to normal. Look at that. Already feeling protective, I sneered inwardly. In my past life, you made me suffocate in the darkness. I'll repay that pain tenfold. Back in the classroom, I took a pill case out of my backpack and swallowed 2 vitamin tablets. Su Chen immediately handed me warm water, his brows furrowed as if he were genuinely worried about me. Nuan, you haven't been looking too well lately. He crouched beside my desk, looking up at me like a loyal dog. Should we go to the hospital for a checkup? I stared at the tear mole at the corner of his eye. When I was 10, I fell into a pond while playing, and he jumped in without hesitation to save me. Back then, water droplets clung to his lashes, and that tear mole sparkled like a star in the sunlight. From that day on, I called him my little star. Maybe it's because I've been staying up late preparing for the speech competition. I brushed him off casually, noticing his expression shift subtly. Speech competition, he repeated. You're going to participate? The city-level competition next month. I deliberately raised my voice. The first prize comes with extra points for the college entrance exam. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lin Xia, who had just entered the classroom, suddenly stop in her tracks. In my past life, she won first place in this competition with an essay titled On Educational Equity, successfully earning extra points for the college entrance exam. But, Su Chen hesitated. Aren't you most afraid of public speaking? People change, I said meaningfully, watching fine beads of sweat form on his forehead. By the way, do you want to sign up too? We can prepare together. Su Chen's expression stiffened for a moment. Of course, he couldn't participate, because he had already agreed to help Lin Xia revise her draft. In my past life, I naively thought he was just being helpful, and even praised him for his kindness. I'll think about it. He stood up and hurriedly left, using the excuse of going to the restroom. Lin Xia immediately followed him out. I pretended to read, but actually used my phone's front camera to aim at the back door. On the screen, Lin Xia grabbed Su Chen's hand at the corner of the hallway, and he, looking around nervously, didn't pull away. I saved the video and opened my textbook. The revenge had only just begun. My good friend and bestie, are you ready? On Saturday morning, I surprisingly woke up early to help my mother prepare lunch ingredients. I used to be someone who never lifted a finger in the kitchen, but now I was skillfully shredding carrots. When did Nuan learn to cook? My mother asked, looking at me in surprise. I learned from watching videos, I said with a smile. I wanted to surprise you. After my death in my past life, during the time I drifted as a soul, I often saw Su Chen bringing Lin Xia home for meals. She would always bustle around eagerly, charming my parents. Now, I was determined to take away every opportunity she had to shine. The doorbell rang right at 11 o'clock. I dried my hands and went to open the door. Suchin stood outside, holding a box of Chen's roasted goose. Half a step behind him, Lin Xia kept her head down, clutching a simple gift bag. "Hello, Auntie," Suchin said with a bright smile, handing me the roasted goose, double portion of plum sauce. "Remember, of course I remembered. Come on in," I said, taking the bag and deliberately letting my fingers linger on his palm for an extra second. The slight redness at the tips of Su Chen's ears convinced me that he hadn't yet taken things to the final step with Lin Xia. At least, I haven't been completely let go yet. "These are cookies I made myself." Lin Xia timidly handed over the gift bag, which contained a few irregularly shaped cookies. I'm not sure if they'll suit your taste." I took the bag and caught a whiff of burnt smell. In my past life, I would have disdainfully set it aside, but now I took out a cookie and bit into it. "Delicious. You're really good at this." Lin Xia looked up in surprise, a hint of barely noticeable pride flickering in her eyes. What she didn't know was that I had already taken a close-up photo of the cookies, and next week I would post a thread on the campus forum titled, "Shock. Impoverished student actually uses imported butter to make cookies," complete with a photo of her receiving her financial aid. At lunch, I deliberately arranged for Lin Xia to sit across from Su Chen. That way, I could observe both of their expressions at the same time. When my mother served the braised pork ribs, Su Chen habitually picked the tenderest piece and placed it in my bowl, a gesture he had been doing for 10 years. "Thanks," I smiled sweetly, catching a glimpse of Lin Xia poking a small hole in her rice with her chopsticks. "Lin Xia, don't be shy, eat more," my father said kindly. "I heard from Nuan Nuan that you have good grades." Lin Xia's face immediately turned red. It's okay, she's in the top 10 in English in her grade." I jumped in. "She almost got full marks on the last quiz, only lost 2 points on the essay." This was exactly what Lin Xia cared about most in her past life. She lost to me on that quiz essay and missed out on the scholarship bonus. Later, Suchin used that as an excuse to start helping her deal with me. Sure enough, Lin Xia's fingers twisted the hem of her clothes. Suchin lightly kicked her under the table, thinking the move was subtle, but I caught it all. "By the way," I turned to Su Chen, "have you decided to sign up for the speech contest next week?" Su Chen had just taken a sip of soup and nearly choked. "I'm still thinking about it. Lin Xia's definitely joining." "Right," I pressed on. "First prize comes with bonus points for the college entrance exam." Lin Xia's chopsticks clattered onto the table with a sharp sound. She scrambled to pick them up, and a red string slipped out from her sleeve. At the same moment, an identical red string peeked out from Su Chen's left wrist. "I'm sorry." Lin Xia's voice was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. I'm not really good at public speaking." Lying. In her past life, she not only participated but almost won first prize. I smiled and placed a piece of spare rib on her plate. "Give it a try. We can practice together." Su Chen's face turned very grim. He certainly knew how much Lin Xia craved that extra credit, and he also knew that if Lin Xia and I competed on the same stage, she would have almost no chance of winning. After lunch, I suggested going to my room to read comics. Suchin immediately tensed up. "No, that doesn't seem right." "What's wrong?" I pretended not to understand. "We used to read together all the time when we were kids." Lin Xia stood to the side, her eyes fixed on the floor. In my past life, I would have considerately invited her to join, but now I deliberately ignored her presence. "Lin Xia, come too." My mother finally broke the ice. "You young people can hang out together." My room retained a typical girlish style, with several plush toys piled on the bed. Suchin sat stiffly at the desk, his gaze darting away, afraid to look at my bed. In his past life, he had been here countless times, but now he pretended to be a stranger. "I'll go get some drinks." I turned and left the room, but left my phone on the bed, its camera pointing directly at the room in the kitchen. I poured the orange juice slowly, taking a full 5 minutes before returning. When I pushed the door open, Suchin was standing in front of the bookshelf, while Lin Xia sat on the edge of my bed, her fingers brushing over the hair clip I had left in my jewelry box last night, the crystal hair clip that used to be my favorite. "Here." I handed them the orange juice, pretending not to notice Lin Xia quickly pulling her hand back. Suchin downed half the glass in one go, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down. I noticed a fresh scratch on the inside of his left ring finger, about 2 centimeters long, already scabbed over. This spot, it didn't look like something he could have accidentally done to himself. "Nuan Nuan," he suddenly said, "that book Wuthering Heights you lent me last time, could I borrow it for a few more days?" It was a clumsy test. I had never lent him that book, but the me from my past life would have gone along with it. Now I just tilted my head. I never lent you *Wuthering Heights did I? Su Chen's expression froze. I must have remembered wrong, but you can borrow it now. I pulled the book from the shelf and handed it to him. When our fingertips touched, he flinched as if burned. Lin Xia suddenly stood up. I need to go to the restroom. After she hurriedly left, only Su Chen and I remained in the room. Sunlight streamed through the sheer curtains, casting shadows on his profile and outlining his perfect jawline. Once, this sight would have made my heart race, but now all I wanted was to tear off his hypocritical mask. You and Lin Xia. I deliberately trailed off. Pretty close, huh? Su Chen's back stiffened noticeably. Just ordinary classmates, really? I leaned in close enough to catch the faint minty scent on him. Then why are you both wearing the same bracelet? Su Chen's face turned pale in an instant, and the book in his hand fell to the floor with a thud. Just then, Lin Xia returned, standing at the doorway and watching our close proximity, a flicker of malice flashing in her eyes. We were just discussing Wuthering Heights, I said nonchalantly, stepping back to a safe distance. Heathcliff is such a devoted lover, don't you think? Lin Xia forced a smile, her fingers unconsciously touching her collarbone where a faint, dark red hickey was half hidden by her school uniform collar. At 3 in the afternoon, Su Chen made an excuse to leave early. I saw them to the door, watching Lin Xia follow closely behind him like a loyal little dog. Nuan. Su Chen turned to me and said, Monday, are we still going to the library? The anticipation in his eyes was almost overflowing. In my past life, I would have been captivated by such a look, but now I only found it laughable. He just wanted to confirm whether I was still devoted to him, so he could continue playing both sides. Of course I'll go, I smiled sweetly. Remember to bring me the blueberry mint candies. Su Chen visibly relaxed and nodded with a smile. Once he turned and walked away, I immediately dropped my smile and pulled out my phone to check the video I had just recorded in the footage. The moment I left the room, Lin Xia rushed to my vanity, pulled open the drawer, and rummaged through it. Su Chen initially tried to stop her, but after she said something, he ended up keeping watch for her instead. Finally, Lin Xia took something out of my jewelry box and stuffed it into her pocket. It was the crystal hair clip I had lost. I saved the video and casually snapped a photo of their retreating figures walking side by side. When they reached the corner of the neighborhood, Su Chen's hand accidentally brushed against Lin Xia's fingers before quickly pulling away. What an innocent little interaction, I sneered and turned off the camera, starting to draft the post I would publish tomorrow. In my past life, you suffocated me in the darkness. In this life, I will make you die a social death in the public. Early Monday morning, the campus forum exploded. A post titled "The Fall of the Impoverished Student's Persona" was pinned to the top, featuring photos of Lin Xia using imported ingredients to make cookies, alongside comparison images of her receiving financial aid. When I walked into the classroom, Lin Xia's seat was surrounded by an empty circle, with a few girls pointing at her. Su Chen sat in his seat, his face as dark as if it were about to drip water. Morning, I sat down casually, pulled out the copy of Wuthering Heights from my backpack, and placed it on the desk. I've finished the book. Thanks. Su Chen stared at the book, then looked at me, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. He was probably wondering why I could stay so calm. Hadn't I seen the post on the forum? Nuan. He lowered his voice. That post on the forum. What post? I pretended to be clueless, pulled out my phone, scrolled for a bit, then shocked my eyes wide. Oh my god, is this Lin Xia? Su Chen's fist clenched under the desk. Someone must be deliberately framing her. Should we go comfort her? I put on a concerned look. She seems really upset. Su Chen's expression was like he'd swallowed a fly. He couldn't refuse the suggestion, yet he was afraid of slipping up in front of Lin Xia. In the end, he stiffly nodded. Okay. When we walked over to Lin Xia's seat, she had her face buried in her arms, her shoulders trembling slightly. In my past life, I would have hugged her with sympathy, but now I just wanted to laugh. Lin Xia, I gently touched her shoulder. Don't be sad. I believe you're not that kind of person. Lin Xia lifted her head, her eyes red like a rabbit's, but deep in her pupils burned the hatred I knew so well. When she saw Su Chen standing behind me, she immediately put on a grateful expression. Thank you. By the way, I suddenly raised my voice. Have you seen my crystal hair clip? I was wearing it last Friday. Lin Xia's face instantly turned pale, and her fingers instinctively reached for her schoolbag pocket. Su Chen quickly interjected. Maybe you left it at home. Maybe. I shrugged. But it's strange. I'm sure I put it in my jewelry box. Lin Xia's breathing became rapid, and fine beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. I smiled and returned to my seat, keeping my achievements to myself. This is just the beginning, my dear good friends. Before class, the study monitor announced the start of registration for the speech contest. I was the first to raise my hand. I'll sign up. The whole class erupted in uproar. I used to dread public speaking, but now I volunteered without hesitation. Suchin whipped his head around to look at me, his eyes filled with disbelief. Lin Xia, you're coming too, right? I turned to her with a smile. Didn't we agree to practice together? Lin Xia's lips trembled as she nodded reluctantly under the gaze of the entire class. A few girls let out disdainful snickers. The forum post's effect was immediate. When the bell rang, I deliberately took my time packing my bag, watching Suchin rush off to comfort Lin Xia. They spoke in hushed tones at the corner of the hallway, and Suchin even stroked her hair. I pulled out my phone, snapped a picture of the scene, then turned and headed toward the teacher's office. It was time to show the homeroom teacher my original speech draft. The one that was word for word identical to Lin Xia's award-winning piece from her past life on educational equity. On the third day of speech competition registration, the preliminary selection list was posted on the campus bulletin board. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching Lin Xia push her way to the front, searching for her name on the list. How could this be? She suddenly covered her mouth, staggering back 2 steps and bumping into a classmate behind her. I strolled over slowly. The bulletin board clearly displayed, Qingluan, on educational equity, selected, Lin Xia. On educational equity, plagiarism, disqualified. This can't be, Lin Xia suddenly screamed, her fingernail scraping white marks on the bulletin board. That's clearly mine. She whipped around, locking eyes with me. I gave her a faint smile and mouthed silently, like it. Lin Xia's face instantly turned as pale as paper. What's going on? Suchin appeared out of nowhere, catching the tottering Lin Xia. She plagiarized my draft, I said, raising my voice to ensure everyone around could hear. She didn't even change the title and submitted it as is. A wave of murmurs erupted around us. Several girls pointed at Lin Xia, while others pulled out their phones to take pictures. Lin Xia shrank into Suchin's arms like a frightened rabbit, but I clearly saw the venom flashing in her eyes. Impossible, Suchin retorted sharply. Lin Xia worked on it for a whole week. I saw her with my own eyes. He stopped mid-sentence, realizing he had let something slip. The surrounding chatter grew louder, as everyone knew Suchin was my childhood friend, yet now he was testifying for Lin Xia. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. Since when did you two get so close? Suchin's Adam's apple bobbed, and fine beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. He opened his mouth, but not a single word came out. Qingluan. Lin Xia suddenly broke free from Suchin's support, her voice trembling but clear. Why are you framing me? Framing you? I let out a cold laugh, pulling a binder from my backpack. Here are every draft of my speech, from the initial concept to the final version. What about you? Other than that original draft of yours that matches mine word for word, can you produce any evidence of your creative process? Lin Xia's lips quivered, but she couldn't muster a rebuttal. Of course she wouldn't dare to produce evidence because every step of the draft's writing had Suchin's involvement, and the competition rules clearly required participants to write the final version themselves. And I pressed on. Last Friday after school, someone saw you sneaking a look into my backpack. I happened to have left my speech draft inside at the time. That was a lie, but what did it matter? In my past life, didn't they also use lies to drive me to my doom? I didn't. Lin Xia shrieked in denial, her fingers tightly gripping Suchin's sleeve. Can you explain this? I pulled out my phone and played the video I had secretly recorded in the room that day. The footage clearly showed Lin Xia rummaging through my dressing table and finally taking something from the jewelry box. The crowd immediately erupted in uproar. Oh my god, she's a thief. No wonder Qingluan's hair clip went missing. Does being a poor student give you the right to steal? Lin Xia's face turned from pale to green, and she suddenly pushed through the crowd and ran out. Suchin hesitated for a moment but ultimately didn't chase after her. Instead, he turned to me and said, Nuan Nuan. There must be some misunderstanding. Misunderstanding, I interrupted him. The video is crystal clear. What misunderstanding could there be? Suchin was left speechless, forced to watch as the surrounding students pointed fingers at him. The red string on his wrist glinted harshly in the sunlight, identical to the one Lin Xia wore. By the way, I suddenly grabbed his wrist. This bracelet is quite unique. Where did you buy it? Suchin jerked his hand back as if burned. It's just from a street stall. Really? I smiled meaningfully, but I saw Lin Xia wearing the same one. Did you two buy them together? The classmates around immediately caught on to this gossip. and the whispers grew louder. Su Chen's face turned extremely ugly, with beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. I'll go check on Lin Xia. He eventually fled in panic, leaving me and a crowd of curious classmates behind. That afternoon, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Wang, called me to the office. When I pushed the door open, I saw Lin Xia sitting to the side with red-rimmed eyes, and Su Chen standing behind her with a gloomy expression. Qingluan, Mr. Wang adjusted his glasses. Student Lin Xia reported that you falsely accused her of plagiarism and spread rumors that she stole things. I almost laughed out loud. Sure enough, Lin Xia had mastered the art of the guilty party filing the first complaint. Teacher Wang, I said calmly, I have a complete chain of evidence proving that the speech script is my original work. As for stealing, I glanced at Lin Xia's backpack. My hair clip is right inside her bag. We can check it right now. Lin Xia jerked her head up, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. She probably hadn't expected me to be so direct. You're lying. Her voice was shrill. I never took anything of yours. Then how about opening your bag right now and letting everyone see? I looked her straight in the eyes. If I'm wrong about you, I'm willing to apologize in front of the whole class. The gazes of the surrounding classmates swept back and forth between us like searchlights. Su Chen's Adam's apple bobbed, and fine beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. He opened his mouth, but not a single word came out. Forget it, I said with a bitter smile. Turning to leave, I shouldn't have asked. Nuan, Su Chen suddenly grabbed my wrist. It's not what you think. I gently pulled my hand back and walked toward the classroom without looking back. Behind me came a murmur of whispers and the click of phones taking pictures. I didn't need to look to know that Su Chen's expression at that moment must have been absolutely priceless. In the classroom, Lin Xia's seat was empty. As I sat down, Su Xiaoxiao immediately leaned in. Oh my god, did you see what just happened? Su Chen actually went with Lin Xia. I don't want to talk about it. I forced a smile and looked down, flipping open my textbook. This reaction was just right, showing both sadness and magnanimity. In my past life, I would have broken down on the spot, but now, I want everyone to see who the real victim is. Before the class bell rang, Su Chen returned to the classroom with a gloomy face. A faint red mark still lingered on his left cheek. He walked over to me, hesitating as if he wanted to say something. I pretended to be focused on previewing the lesson, not even sparing him a glance. This class was Chinese literature, and the teacher asked us to discuss the character portrayals in Dream of the Red Chamber in groups. As usual, Su Chen and I were in the same group, but today I didn't turn to him proactively like I always did. Chunwan, Su Chen lowered his voice. We need to talk. I'm in a group with Su Xiaoxiao, I said without looking up, my voice loud enough for the classmates around to hear. You and Lin Xia work well together, don't you? Go find her. A few girls let out meaningful oohs. Su Chen's face flushed bright red, and his fists clenched and unclenched under the desk. In the end, he stiffly turned around and finished the group assignment alone. When the bell rang, I packed my bag much slower than usual. By the time most of the classmates had left, Su Chen was indeed blocking the doorway. Nuan, his voice was hoarse. Just give me 5 minutes to explain. Explain what? I looked up at him. Explain how you call me your dearest Nuan while wearing matching couple bracelets with Lin Xia. Su Chen stood frozen as if struck by lightning. He hadn't expected me to be so direct, let alone that I already knew so much. Well, that's, his eyes darted around. The bracelet is just, Su Chen. I suddenly laughed. You know what? I hate being treated like a fool. With that, I sidestepped past him, deliberately brushing his shoulder with mine. This boy who once made my heart race now only filled me with disgust. In the hallway, a few girls were looking at their phones, immediately showing sympathetic expressions when they saw me. I knew there must be new posts on the forum. Maybe someone had secretly filmed my conversation with Su Chen just now. When I reached the school gate, it suddenly started raining. I didn't have an umbrella and was hesitating whether to run home in the rain when a black umbrella appeared over my head. I'll walk you home. Su Chen had somehow caught up, his voice carrying the familiar tenderness. Like before, in my past life, I would have been deeply moved by this gesture. Now I just find it ridiculous. Had he held an umbrella for Lin Xia like this too? No need. I stepped back, and the rain immediately soaked my shoulder. Your Lin Xia probably needs the umbrella more. Su Chen's expression instantly turned ugly. Nuan, do you have to be like this? What about me? I retorted. Didn't you betray our 18 years of friendship first? Friendship? Su Chen suddenly became agitated. You know very well that my feelings for you have never been just. He stopped mid-sentence because Lin Xia had appeared at the school gate at some point, staring at us intently. Her school uniform was soaked through by the rain, her hair plastered against her pale face, making her look like a drowned ghost. Su Chen's hand trembled, and the umbrella fell to the ground. The three of us stood in the rain, forming a strange standoff. Su Chen, Lin Xiao's voice was colder than the rain. You said you'd wait for me after school. Su Chen looked at me, then at Lin Xia, like a child who had done something wrong. The young man who once shielded me from the wind and rain in my past life now looked ridiculous, torn between two girls. I'm leaving first. I turned and walked into the rain, letting the icy raindrops soak me through. Behind me came the sounds of Su Chen and Lin Xia arguing, along with Lin Xiao's hysterical sobbing. When I got home, I took a hot shower and then sat at my desk to check my phone. The campus forum had already exploded, with posts like exposed, Su Chen playing two women and Lin Xia slaps Su Chen in public dominating the front page. Accompanied by pictures of today's hallway confrontation. I clicked on one of the videos, and Lin Xiao's hysterical voice came through the speaker. You clearly said you only liked me. The comment section was in an uproar. I never thought Su Chen was this kind of person. Junluan is so pitiful, betrayed by her childhood friend. Lin Xia pretends to be so innocent, but she's actually the other woman. I turned off my phone, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my mouth. This was just the beginning. I was going to completely ruin their reputations. The next day was Saturday, and I made plans to go to the library with Su Xiaoxiao. As soon as I stepped out the door, I saw Su Chen standing at the entrance of the neighborhood, with dark circles under his eyes. Luan Luan, he stopped me. Let's talk. I walked around him and continued forward. There's nothing to talk about. Su Chen caught up and grabbed my wrist. Just 5 minutes. His grip was strong, and my wrist immediately turned red. In my past life, I would have felt sorry for his haggard appearance, but now I only think he deserves it. Let go, I said coldly. Only then did Su Chen realize his loss of composure. He hastily let go of me. I'm sorry, I just what? I rubbed my wrist, just suddenly realized it's hard to get used to losing me as your backup. Su Chen's face instantly turned pale. You were never a backup. What is Lin Xia? I stared into his eyes. A simp. The vulgar word made Su Chen shudder. He opened his mouth but couldn't utter a rebuttal. How ridiculous. The flawless boy from my past life couldn't even form a proper defense now. I'm leaving. I turned and walked away. This time, he didn't follow. In the library, Su Xiaoxiao had already saved a seat. When she saw me come in, she immediately waved. Luan Luan, over here. As soon as I sat down, Su Xiaoxiao leaned in mysteriously. Guess who I just saw? Lin Xia. She was smoking in the back alley with a bunch of thugs. I raised an eyebrow. This hadn't happened in my past life. Looks like my provocation was working. Really, I pretended to be surprised. Isn't she a good student? She's just faking it. Su Xiaoxiao pursed her lips. I took a photo. Want to see? I took her phone. In the photo, Lin Xia was indeed holding a cigarette, surrounded by a few boys with dyed hair. One of them had his arm around her shoulder in an intimate gesture. Send it to me, I said. It might come in handy later. Su Xiaoxiao nodded excitedly and immediately sent me the photo. We stayed in the library until the afternoon. When we walked out, the sky had already darkened. Su Xiaoxiao was picked up by her family, and I walked home alone. As I passed through an alley, someone suddenly blocked my way. It was Lin Xia. Her eyes were red and swollen, but a strange smile hung on her lips. Qingluan, are you happy now? I stepped back cautiously. What do you mean? Stop pretending. She suddenly raised her voice. The posts on the forum. Those photos, wasn't it all you're doing? I looked at her calmly. I just told everyone the truth. The truth, Lin Xia sneered. You think this is the end? She pulled a small knife from her pocket, its blade glinting coldly under the dim streetlight. The me from my past life would have been terrified, legs weak. But now I calmly assessed the situation. Lin Xia was half a head shorter than me, and clearly emotionally out of control. Her movements would lack precision. Are you going to kill me here? I even let out a laugh, just like you and Su Chen planned. Lin Xiao's hand visibly trembled. What nonsense are you talking about? The equipment room, I said softly. The locked door, claustrophobia, suffocation to death. Lin Xiao's face turned deathly pale, and the knife clattered to the ground with a clang. How do you know? Of course I knew. That was how I died in my past life. Did Su Chen tell you? She suddenly burst into hysterical laughter. That coward. He promised he wouldn't tell anyone. I see. I silently noted this information. I've already called the police. I lied deliberately. You're done for. Lin Xia froze as if struck by lightning, then suddenly turned and ran, not even bothering to pick up the fallen knife. I glanced down at the knife with a faint smile. then opened my phone and called the police. After giving my statement at the police station, I immediately sent Suchin a message. Lin Xia just threatened me with a knife and said she would kill me. Suchin replied almost instantly, "What? Are you okay? Where is she?" I let out a cold laugh and replied, "Now you're worried, aren't you two in cahoots?" Suchin called me directly, but I hung up and turned off my phone. Tonight, let them both suspect each other and have a good night's sleep. On Monday morning, as soon as I arrived at the school gate, my homeroom teacher, Ms. Wang, stopped me. "Qingwan, the police are at school investigating Lin Xiao's threats against you, and they need your cooperation." I nodded and followed Ms. Wang to the office. On the way, I ran into Suchin. He looked like he hadn't slept all night, his eyes bloodshot. Nuan. He seemed about to say something, but Ms. Wang gave him a stern look, and he had to step aside. In the office, Lin Xia was sobbing in the corner, with two police officers questioning her. When she saw me come in, she jerked her head up, her eyes shooting venomous glares. "Qingwan," a middle-aged police officer said kindly, "could you tell us in detail about what happened on Saturday night?" I nodded and recounted the events, naturally omitting the part where I provoked her. When I mentioned their plan about the murder in the equipment room, Lin Xiao's face turned deathly pale. She's lying," Lin Xia shrieked. "I never said those things. Just check the lock on the equipment room door and you'll know." I pretended to be still shaken. Lin Xia said she specially changed the lock on the equipment room door to a type that can never be opened from the inside. Lin Xia collapsed into the chair, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls. "Miss Lin Xia," the police officer said sternly, looking at her, "carrying a controlled knife and threatening someone's life is illegal, let alone your plan to commit murder." The investigation lasted the entire morning. In the end, due to conclusive evidence and my firm refusal to settle, Lin Xia was disciplined by the school and also detained at the police station for 3 days. As for the origin of the knife and the more heinous murder plan, the police would continue their further investigation. When I walked out of the office, Suchin was waiting for me in the hallway. He looked haggard, his school uniform wrinkled as if he hadn't changed it in days. "Nuan," he said hoarsely, "can we talk alone for a moment?" I glanced at the curious looks around us and nodded. 5 minutes. We walked to the sycamore tree by the playground. The September sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground, much like our shattered relationship. "What Lin Xia said," Suchin began with difficulty, "about the equipment room, it's true, isn't it?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "You really did plan to kill me?" Suchin seemed to have all the strength drained from his body. He leaned against the tree trunk to keep from falling. I was blinded by greed at the time. "Because my family is rich," I sneered. "Because you wanted to have both me and Lin Xia." Suchin didn't deny it, which was more convincing than any words. The young man who had shielded me from the wind and rain in my past life was actually so ugly at his core. "Are you going to call the police?" He finally asked the question that concerned him most. I shook my head, watching his eyes gradually light up, and then said, "I don't need to call them. The police are already investigating." Suchin's expression froze instantly. "What? That knife?" I said softly. "It has your fingerprints on it, doesn't it? After all, you bought it for Lin Xia, didn't you? Besides, I didn't think Lin Xia, who was already in custody and facing prosecution, would refrain from implicating Suchin." Suchin's face instantly drained of color. How do you know?" "Of course I know. After all, every step they took was the result of my manipulation." "Suchin," I took a step back, "see you at the police station." With that, I turned and walked toward the teaching building, leaving him trembling alone under the tree. The sunlight was still bright, but it couldn't reach the darkness between us. The news of Lin Xiao's punishment spread throughout the school like wildfire. When I walked into the classroom, everyone looked at me with strange eyes, some with sympathy, some with curiosity, and a hint of fear. "Nuan," Su Xiaoxiao grabbed me. "Are you okay? I heard Lin Xia threatened you with a knife." I forced a faint smile, showing just the right amount of lingering fear. "It's all in the past." This reaction immediately drew a wave of comforting words from the girls around me. In my past life, I was isolated and helpless, but now I had become the object of everyone's sympathy. How ironic. Suchin's seat was empty. A thin layer of dust settled on the desk. He hadn't come to school since that day we talked under the plane tree. I heard Suchin asked for leave. Su Xiaoxiao leaned in and whispered, "His father came to school to handle the paperwork, and he looked really grim." I nodded, knowing full well what was going on. The police must have already shown up at his door. The fingerprints on that knife were enough to make Suchin a suspect. Before the bell rang, our homeroom teacher, Ms. Wang, called me out into the hallway. "Qingwan, The police might need you to go to the station again for a supplementary statement. They've traced the source of that knife, and it turns out, she hesitated, but I had already guessed the answer. Suchin bought it, didn't he, Ms. Wang looked at me in surprise. How did you know? Just a guess. I lowered my eyes. They were so close. Ms. Wang sighed and patted me on the shoulder. Don't be too upset. He's not worth it. I nodded obediently, but sneered inwardly. Not worth it. Yeah, just 2 lives. After school, I went straight to the police station. Officer Chen, who was handling the case, showed me the purchase records. That knife was indeed bought by Suchin from a hardware store a month ago, and the surveillance footage was crystal clear. What's his relationship with Lin Xia? Officer Chen's sharp eyes fixed on me. Boyfriend and girlfriend, I replied calmly. At least before I found out, they had been hiding their relationship from me. Do you know why they wanted to kill you? I bit my lip, pretending to think, maybe, because I discovered their secret. What secret? Lin Xiao's financial aid documents are forged. I dropped the bomb I had prepared. Her family is actually quite wealthy. Her father runs a company. Officer Chen immediately sat up straight. Do you have any evidence? I pulled up the photos of the cookies I had taken earlier from my phone. She made these herself, using imported butter and top-grade flour. Would a truly needy student use such expensive ingredients? This was, of course, an exaggeration, but enough to arouse police suspicion. Officer Chen carefully noted down this lead and said he would look into it. When I walked out of the police station, it was already dark. I turned into a small alley when suddenly someone covered my mouth from behind. A pungent smell of alcohol rushed into my nostrils. I instinctively struggled, but the other person's strength was astonishing. Don't move, a strange male voice whispered in my ear. Someone wants to see you. I was dragged into a black van, and the door slammed shut with a bang. The interior was dim, but I immediately recognized the person sitting across from me, Lin Xiao's father, Lin Jiqiang. In my previous life, after I died, he appeared in my parents' social circle as the father of my daughter's friend, and eventually even became a business partner of my father. Looking back now, all of this was probably premeditated. Miss Cheng, Lin Jiqiang said, dressed in a suit and holding a cigar between his fingers. I've heard so much about you. I forced myself to calm down. Kidnapping is a felony, Mr. Lin. He burst into laughter, harsh as sandpaper scraping. Who said this is a kidnapping? I just want to have a talk with you. About what? About everything you've done to my daughter lately. His gaze suddenly turned icy, spreading rumors, falsely accusing her of plagiarism, and now you want to send her to prison. I looked him straight in the eye. Those are all facts. Facts. Lin Jiqiang leaned in abruptly, the smoke from his cigar hitting my face. My daughter is innocent. That Suchin is the mastermind. Those words struck a chord in my heart. Could it be that Lin Xia had pinned everything on Suchin? What evidence do you have? I countered. Lin Jiqiang let out a cold laugh, pulled a phone from his briefcase, and played a recording. Suchin's voice came through clearly. Qingwan must be eliminated. She's starting to suspect. The equipment room is the best place. I have the key. My blood ran cold. If this recording was real, it was solid evidence that Suchin had planned to kill me. Now do you understand? Lin Jiqiang put the phone away. My daughter was coerced. That Suchin threatened her. If she didn't cooperate, he'd expose her forged financial aid documents. What a perfect excuse to evade guilt. I almost wanted to applaud this father-daughter duo's acting skills. So what? I asked calmly. You came to me to drop the charges. Lin Jiqiang cut straight to the point. As long as you tell the police it was all a misunderstanding, I guarantee Suchin will take full responsibility. I nearly laughed out loud. So that was it. Lin Jiqiang was sacrificing Suchin to save his own daughter. In my past life, they had conspired to kill me, but in this life, they were turning on each other like dogs. What if I refuse? Lin Jiqiang's expression turned ferocious. Then you might end up like your parents, having some accidents. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. He leisurely blew out a smoke ring. Last week, when your father went to inspect the construction site, the scaffolding suddenly collapsed. What a coincidence. My fingers dug deep into my palms. In my previous life, shortly after I died, my parents were both killed in a car accident, and Suchin, as the adopted son, inherited the entire family fortune. Now it seemed that accident was also likely a meticulously planned murder. Have you made up your mind? Lin Jiqiang asked. I looked up and suddenly smiled. Mr. Lin, do you know why I was able to discover that Lin Xia had falsified her financial aid documents? He was taken aback. What? Because I'm used to recording. I slowly pulled my phone out of my pocket, the screen showing that the Recording had been going on for 20 minutes, including everything you just said threatening me and my parents. Lin Jichung's face instantly turned ashen. He lunged at me to grab my phone, but the car door was suddenly yanked open, and a blinding flashlight beam shone in. Police, don't move. Officer Chen and several other officers surrounded the van. Lin Jichung froze in place, his face deathly pale. Qingluan, are you okay? Officer Chen asked with concern. I shook my head and handed him my phone. I have important evidence. It turned out that when I went to the police station to give my statement, I had noticed a black van following me. Officer Chen was worried and had arranged for someone to protect me undercover, and sure enough, they caught him in the act as Lin Jichung was being escorted into the police car. He was still roaring, "You set me up. My daughter is innocent." I watched coldly from the sidelines, my heart devoid of any emotion. When you conspired to kill my entire family in my past life, did you ever think this day would come? The next day, the entire school was in an uproar. The news of Lin Jichung's arrest made the morning headlines, exposing a series of scandals including Lin Xiao's forged documents for financial aid, and Su Chen's purchase of a murder weapon and his planned homicide. I sat in the classroom, listening to the chatter of my classmates around me. Oh my god. Lin Xiao's dad is a gangster. I heard they even tried to murder Qing Nuan, how terrifying. Su Chen seemed so gentle. Su Xiaoxiao tightly gripped my arm. Nuanyuan, you almost. I patted her hand, signaling that I was fine. In my past life, I was utterly alone, but now I had become the center of everyone's concern. Fate truly works in mysterious cycles. At noon, Teacher Wang told me that Su Chen and Lin Xia had both been taken away by the police for investigation. The school had already decided to expel them. Are you okay? Teacher Wang asked worriedly. Do you need psychological counseling? I'm fine, I said with a smile. The truth has come to light, and I feel relieved. Walking out of the office, I received a call from my father. His voice trembled slightly. Nuan, the police just informed us about Lin Jichung. I'm so glad you're okay, Dad. I'm fine. I comforted him softly. We're all fine. This was the truth. The tragedy of my family's ruin in my past life would not repeat itself in this one. After school, Officer Chen called to say that Su Chen wanted to see me. I thought it over and agreed. In the visiting room of the detention center, Su Chen, wearing an orange prison uniform, had visibly shrunk. The once sunny and handsome young man now had sunken eyes and a stubbly face, looking like a middle-aged man. Nuan, when he saw me, tears immediately streamed down his face. I'm sorry, I didn't say a word, just looked at him quietly. I was bewitched by Lin Xia, he choked out. She said if I didn't help her, she would kill herself. I was confused for a moment. Such familiar lines. Was this how they shifted blame onto each other in my past life too? Whose idea was the equipment room? I asked directly. Su Chen shuddered all over. It was Lin Xia. He clutched his head in pain. I regret it. I really regret it. I stood up, unwilling to listen to any more of these hypocritical confessions. Not many people knew about my claustrophobia, but Su Chen was one of them. The plan to lock me in the equipment room itself revealed a deep understanding of me, and even now, he was still lying. As I reached the door, Su Chen suddenly called out to me. Nuan, how did you know about the equipment room plan? I never told anyone. I turned to look at him. Sunlight streamed in through the high window, casting barred shadows across his face. Maybe, I said softly, the me who died told me. Su Chen's expression froze instantly, as if he had seen a ghost. I turned and walked away without another glance at the boy who had once made my heart flutter. Stepping out of the detention center, the sunlight was blindingly bright. I took a deep breath, feeling the resentment that had weighed on my chest for years finally dissipate. The grudges of my past life were finally avenged in this one. Lin Xia and Su Chen would pay for their crimes, and I could finally begin my true life. My phone buzzed, a message from Su Xiaoxiao. Nuan. Good luck in the finals of the speech contest next week. I smiled and replied, definitely, this time I will not be locked in the dark equipment room, dying in silence. This time, I will stand under the spotlight and let everyone hear my voice. The end. Story 2. On the third year of being the kept woman of a big shot in the Shanghai circle, I really couldn't stand pulling weeds in Egypt all day long and decided to run away. When I rolled up a large sum of money and dragged my suitcase to go out, suddenly, several lines of words appeared in front of my eyes. Female lead, don't be impulsive, don't run. Even if you run, you can only run to the North Pole. Are you going to pull weeds in a different place? There are all kinds of gadgets hidden in the safe in the study. If you run away, he can use them on you without any scruples. I didn't believe it at all and accelerated my pace to run away. Just as I arrived at the airport, my sugar daddy, who had rushed over in a hurry, tied my hands with his necktie. Honey, how about we go to the study today? After receiving a call from Wade, I collapsed on the big bed and let out a sigh of relief. Wade finally wouldn't be back tonight, because I'm delicate, soft, obedient, and good at making people happy. Wade saved me from villains and kept me by his side for 3 whole years. Wade, the heir of a top-tier wealthy family in the Shanghai circle, the one who sits at the main table among the big shots. Recently, he's been like he's on drugs, bullying me in different ways every day. Finally, I got a day off. I took a nice bath, watched a movie, and fell asleep in a happy mood. In a daze, the kitten-shaped pillow in my arms was taken away. I woke up with a start. Dense kisses rained down. Wade kissed passionately, taking advantage of the gap for breathing. I asked him, "Sir, didn't you say you wouldn't be back tonight?" I felt a bit wronged. Wade was kissing me while taking off my clothes. His voice was slightly hoarse. "I missed you, so I came back early." I was crying inside. After everything was over, the sound of water in the bathroom kept going. I curled up in the quilt, with big teardrops hanging on my face. What kind of normal person can accept this every day? Anyway, I can't stand it anymore. I'm going to run away, holding my breath. After Wade came out of the bathroom, I ordered him without hesitation. "I'm hungry. I want to eat noodles." Wade was stunned for a moment, then skillfully put on an apron and went to cook noodles. It seemed like the world was turned upside down, but it didn't matter. I would be able to leave him soon. When Wade brought the noodles up, I was still thinking about my escape route. Wade smiled. "I'm going abroad for work in a few days. You be good at home." Yes, heaven is helping me. I bit my lips tightly, for fear that I would laugh out loud. Wade noticed my strangeness and asked, "Do you not want me to leave?" I nodded against my will. "Do you want to come with me?" My heart skipped a beat, and I refused. "No, I'll just cause you trouble." A few months ago, Wade took me on a business trip. At night, we got too crazy. When I woke up, I was hungry, sleepy, and my mind was still unclear. I went to look for Wade in my pajamas and accidentally entered an international video conference. Fortunately, I turned off the video in time, avoiding a big embarrassment. Wade seemed to remember this incident too. He smiled and didn't mention it again. After I was full, Wade pounced on me again. I immediately put my hand against his chest. "Sir, I'm tired." Wade pursed his lips and didn't speak. I kissed his lips and coaxed him, "I'll make it up to you later." Only then did he let me go and hold me to sleep for the whole night. These 2 days, I've been counting my assets, except for being a bit addicted to this kind of thing. Wade is really good to me. In 3 years, he transferred nearly 200 million yuan in bits and pieces, and there are countless luxury goods. This morning, after seeing Wade off, I dragged my already packed suitcase out of the bedroom door. Suddenly, several lines of words appeared in front of my eyes. Female lead, don't be impulsive, don't run. Even if you run, you can only run to the North Pole. Are you going to pull weeds in a different place? There are all kinds of gadgets hidden in the safe in the study. If you run away, he can use them on you without any scruples. I didn't believe it. The first time I saw the bullet comments was before I met Wade. At that time, my mom and I were selling barbecue by the roadside. A few drunk men were causing trouble. They dragged me into the alley. My mom stepped forward to stop them and was pushed to the ground by the drunkards. She couldn't get up for a long time. I was so scared. I was afraid of what would happen next, and I was even more afraid that something bad would happen to my mom. In despair, bullet comments suddenly appeared in front of my eyes. Female lead, don't be afraid, calm down. See the Maybach with the license plate number 8888 by the roadside. Run over and ask for help. Wade is one of the few good people in Shanghai. He respects women and keeps himself clean. He's a philanthropist. Female lead, you can be brave. He will help you out of trouble. I was stunned. The next second, I used all my strength to break free from the drunkards and ran towards Wade desperately. I knocked on the car window and shouted hoarsely, "Mr. Pei, can you help me?" The car window slowly rolled down, revealing Wade's breathtaking face. The drunkards were approaching from behind. I didn't have time to appreciate it. In a rush of blood to the head, I opened the back seat door and got into the car. I tightly grabbed the corner of his clothes. "Sir, my mom and I are in danger. Please help us." "Okay." Wade didn't hesitate. The drunkards were severely beaten by the bodyguards and sent to the police station. The messy scene was cleaned up completely. My mom was sent to the hospital as quickly as possible. At that moment, he was like a god. He was really a good person. After escaping from the countryside, my mom and I had suffered a lot. Thinking of what the bullet comments said, I tentatively asked, "Sir, now that we know each other, can you take care of me a little bit in the future?" Wade stared at me for a long time, and his brows slowly knitted together. I knew I was being too greedy. but I was thick-skinned and didn't want to give up any chance. After a long time, Wade said again, "Okay." Wade really took good care of me, but somehow it ended up in bed. The bullet comments lied to me. Wade is not at all pure-hearted and ascetic. Fortunately, I was successfully out of trouble, so I didn't care about the bullet comments. The second time I saw the bullet comments was when Wade and Doris appeared in the Shanghai Circle media together. People in the circle said I was going to be abandoned. The bullet comments also reminded me, female lead, be careful of Doris, she's Wade's childhood sweetheart and white moonlight. Her appearance means you're not far from being abandoned. Doris is petty and spoiled. She will definitely make things difficult for you. Be vigilant, female lead. Cheer up, not for Wade, but for his vast wealth. I thought it made sense. He has so much money, what's wrong with giving me some? The possessiveness in my heart was aroused by the bullet comments. I was afraid of being abandoned by Wade for a month. I tried my best to please him every day, changing ways to make him happy. Wade seemed calm on the surface, but the corners of his mouth secretly raised when he was sleeping. At the same time, I was on guard against Doris, being careful of her tricks. I was on tenterhooks for 2 months, but she seemed to disappear from my world. The next time I saw Doris was at the wedding anniversary of her and Wade's brother. Wade put his arm around my waist and whispered in my ear, Doris and Mark have been on and off for several years. They finally got married. I hope the two of them won't make trouble anymore. On the wedding stage, Doris and Mark looked at each other affectionately and kissed sweetly. I was lied to by the bullet comments again. Fortunately, I got several large sums of money, so I generously didn't care again. Today is the third time I've seen the bullet comments. Things like pulling weeds in the North Pole and gadgets. I don't believe it at all. 3 strikes and you're out. If I believe it again, I'm a dog. I didn't take it to heart. I continued to drag my suitcase and walk. Hey, why is the female lead being rebellious? Believe us. Female lead, turn back. Wade is monitoring your every move. Once you walk out of the villa door, there's really no turning back. I believed it even less. Wade is flying in the sky right now. They don't even bother to come up with a better lie. I met the butler, and he asked casually. I also made up a lie without hesitation. I miss her so much. I'm going to give him a surprise secretly. At the entrance, there were 2 pairs of couple slippers neatly placed. My mom and I bought them at a roadside stall when we were taking a walk. They were 99 yuan for 2 pairs. Wade disliked them at that time, but he always wore them when we got back. They were almost worn out. After thinking about it, I stuffed the female-style slipper into the suitcase. Just as a souvenir, I took a taxi and headed straight for the airport. As soon as I got out of the car, Wade's call came in. After thinking for a while, I still answered it. Baby, what are you doing? I'm shopping and thinking of you. Sweet words came easily to me. Really, of course, sir. How dare I lie to you? It's over, it's over, it's over, asterisk asterisk look, he's you. The screen was full of it's over and stars. I just wanted to laugh. The lying words are getting more and more sophisticated, but I won't be fooled. Just as I was sitting with my legs crossed, happily watching a live stream of a handsome guy, Wade stood in front of me. I thought I was blind. Why did Wade, who should have been in another country, appear vividly at the escape scene? Baby, are you surprised to see me? Wade asked with a smile. Surprised? I was more like terrified. Suddenly, I lost all my strength and means. Baby, where are you going with the suitcase? My teeth were chattering. If I say I want to go to you and give you a surprise, will you believe me? No. Wade slowly unbuttoned his necktie and tied my 2 hands tightly. Baby, how about we go to the study today? The study play is about to start. It's Wade's carnival, and the female leads hell. Don't black out. I want to watch the live show. Wade, teach her a good lesson. The female lead is in a rebellious period. Teach her a lesson for us. The female lead is going to unlock more new ways to play. My eyes went dark. Wade easily picked me up. The Maybach was speeding on the viaduct. Sir, Wade put his 10 fingers against my lips. Shoo, don't talk, otherwise, the consequences will be more serious. The study door was locked from the inside. Wade opened the mysterious safe. There was a whole box of unspeakable gadgets. My heart finally sank. The study door was closed for exactly 4 hours. When it was opened, my whole body was soaked in sweat, my pupils were dilated, and my heart was beating violently. Is this it? I even took off my pants. And this is what I get to see. I told you not to run. This time it's 4 hours. Next time, it'll be 8 hours at least. Wade built a golden cage on the 2nd floor. If you run again, you'll be locked up in it. What? I sat up straight as if I was jolted back to life from the verge of death, being locked up in a cage for 10 hours. I have to run even more. There were also bullet comments supporting me. The female lead is so pitiful. I feel sorry for her. I support you to run. Wade just caught you back. He surely won't expect you to run again. Take him by surprise when he relaxes his vigilance. I regained my confidence. My confiscated phone and various certificates were placed on the table. I forced myself to put on a dress and took everything with me. I walked out carefully. Suddenly, someone pinched my waist. Wade appeared behind me like a ghost, and his tone was sinister. Baby, wasn't it enough just now? You still have the strength to run. All the blood in my body instantly froze. I froze, my mind was racing, and I forced a smile that was uglier than crying. I didn't want to run, I was just going to the bathroom. Wade raised his eyebrows, and his long and slender fingers slowly opened the zipper of my bag. He took out my ID card, bank card, passport, from it. Do you need to bring these to the bathroom? My last hope was held in his hands. His teasing tone made me angry. I closed my eyes and finally got tough. So what if I run? What you did just now was beastly. Running 10,000 times is not too much. My emotions were so intense that it affected a certain part, and I hissed. Tears were about to fall. Wade quickly hugged me. Baby, I was a beast just now. I'm sorry. I just can't accept the fact that you want to leave me. I love you so much. I'll never do this again, I sniffed. I didn't believe it at all. Every time after bullying me to tears, didn't he promise well? But the next time, he would be even worse. And baby, didn't you like it just now? Like my ass? I secretly bit my lip. Wade pinched my bright red earlobe. Okay, don't be angry. How about you use those things on me to get even? I shrieked. Get out, or something else will do. Wade walked around in a big circle and finally found a clapper in the corner. We got it for free when we went to a concert together some time ago. You can also slap me a few times. Wade stuffed the clapper into my hand and stretched his face over. Use this to hit me. Don't hurt your hand. Staring at Wade's incredibly handsome side face, I really wanted to slap it. Swollen, I raised my hand high. The bullet comments appeared in time. Female lead, don't hit him. You'll end up pleasing him later. No, no, no. Don't fall into this scheming man's trap. Me. My hand slowly dropped. Wade kissed the back of my hand. I knew my baby couldn't bear to hit me. He took out his phone and transferred 20 million yuan to my personal account. Then he put all kinds of certificates back into my bag. Baby, keep these well. Don't lose them. That night, we slept in each other's arms, and everything was peaceful. Wade worked from home for 3 days. These days, I was gentle and cautious, behaving myself. I didn't dare to act rashly. I had to find the right time to succeed in one go. If I was caught again, I would be locked in a golden cage, with no one to turn to. Good news, Wade went abroad. Even better news. As soon as he landed, he sent me a video call. I patiently chatted with him for half an hour. The moment I hung up, my heart started to itch again, but the bullet comments poured cold water on me. Female lead, he deliberately called you to make you let down your guard. According to the plot of the domineering president's story, he should have confiscated your certificates when you tried to run away for the first time. Instead of putting them in the most conspicuous place to tempt you, it was even more obvious the second time. To be honest, he's fishing for law breaking. My hand froze. It was as if there was a fog in front of my eyes, and I couldn't tell what was real and what was fake. Why? After being with Wade, although he was a bit too much in that aspect, he was young, handsome, and wealthy. He also took good care of my feelings. We were well matched. Both my body and mind were greatly satisfied, but recently, his possessiveness towards me had become stronger and stronger, and I felt like I would be drained dry. When I was being punished in the study, a white light flashed in front of my eyes for a moment. My hands waved helplessly, and I accidentally touched something furry. At that time, I was in the heat of passion and couldn't extricate myself. The only thought in my mind when I regained my senses was, oh no, Wade is getting more and more perverted. I decided to believe the bullet comments one more time, just once. It must not be because I hated the feeling of being on the verge of climax in the study but being abruptly stopped. It was because I was more vigilant. That's right. That's it. I have a Twitter account where I occasionally record the daily life of the two of us. Usually, not many people read it. I posted, my sugar daddy has an overwhelming possessiveness towards me and doesn't want to let me go. What should I do? Waiting online. It's urgent. A few minutes passed after I posted it, and nothing happened. I dejectedly switched out of the app, but then Wade called. Wade asked me to attend a dinner party for him. I've always been uninterested in these banquets. When I first got together with Wade, many people in the circle were laughing at me. I was the first canary Wade kept. On the surface, they were respectful to me, but secretly, there were all kinds of malicious remarks. I don't know what tricks Jade used to make Wade lose his mind. After all, Wade hasn't experienced much. when he's had enough of the taste, Jade won't be good enough for him. Jade is beautiful and has a good figure. After Wade gets tired of her, we can play with her too. At that time, Wade got extremely angry. He directly threw out all those who were talking nonsense. Since then, no matter where we were, these people respectfully called me sister-in-law. It was quite hypocritical and childish. Since then, I've rarely participated in such gatherings. Wade's tone wasn't forceful. Going was to show respect to the host, and not going, no one would dare to say anything. I finally decided to go. Anyway, it would be me making others feel bad. No one would dare to mess with me. After some greetings, I actually ran into Wade's mother. The woman in front of me was elegant and a bit plump. She looked me up and down several times and snorted from her nose. "You're fairly good looking. No wonder you've bewitched Wade." Countless gazes converged from all over the banquet hall, all looking forward to something happening. I was also looking forward to it. I was looking forward to her splashing the red wine in her hand on my face. Then, she would contemptuously and straightforwardly throw me 50 million yuan, telling me to get away from Wade quickly. Unfortunately, I was disappointed. The onlookers were also disappointed. Mrs. Pei just passed by me and then gracefully went to chat with her sisters. I went home before the banquet ended. I took off my flat shoes and walked barefoot on the carpet. After walking a few steps, I stopped. It seemed that something had changed in the villa. The bullet comments quickly answered for me. Hee. The female lead is quite alert. There are surveillance cameras installed in the bedroom, bathroom, living room. I don't know exactly how many there are. You have to find them yourself. Female lead, run if you can. He's getting more and more perverted. I'm a pervert myself, but I can't stand the idea of having a surveillance camera in the bathroom. What? There's a surveillance camera in the bathroom. I found 3 in the living room and 2 in the bedroom. Just as I was about to look for the one in the bathroom, Wade called again. A chaotic mix of guilt, nervousness, all these emotions welled up in me. I answered the phone tremblingly. Wade's voice was very gentle. "Are you home?" "Yes, sir." "Did you have a good time?" "Something unexpected happened here, and I'm afraid I can't go back to accompany you as scheduled." "Be good at home." "I can't be good at all." My rebellious heart reached its peak. What kind of normal person would install so many surveillance cameras at home? Does he want to monitor me or film some unspeakable videos? After all, our battlefield is not limited to the bedroom. There are traces left everywhere. In the study, on the sofa, by the French window, in the bathroom. What on earth does Wade want to do? I really can't stand it anymore. The post I sent before became popular. Most people said it was a way for me to build my account. Only a small number of people gave me advice. Advice 1. The relationship between the sugar daddy and the canary is one of superiority and inferiority. According to my years of experience in reading novels, sugar daddies generally don't like their canaries to cross the line. You can casually ask him if he likes children. Few sugar daddies can accept this. It made some sense. I immediately sent a message to Wade. Wade quickly replied to me. "Do you want a baby? Then I'll quit smoking and drinking from now on. We can start as soon as I get back." Me. Pass. Advice 2. Turn to the sugar daddy's mother. In short dramas, the vicious mother-in-law usually doesn't like her son keeping an improper woman. Make her dislike you so that she'll drive you away. Wade's mother doesn't seem to care much about him. Wade isn't close to his family either. Every New Year, he spends it with me. This one also passes. Advice 3. Find him another woman. It's a man's nature to be greedy. Find a younger and more beautiful girl, and he'll naturally get tired of you. After Wade started keeping me, it was like opening a floodgate. Partners and his sneaky brothers around him have all sent women to him. Some imitated my dressing style, and some were somewhat similar to me. Without exception, the women were thrown out, and the men were cut off from contact. This one is an even more definite pass. It's a bit useful but not really. Just as I was at a loss, a very familiar ID appeared. I remembered her. She had been following me since I started recording our daily life. She liked every one of my Twitter posts. She was a loyal fan of mine. I clicked into her profile and saw that she was a girl. Her answer to me was, "Have you heard the story of the boy who cried wolf?" I sent a. She replied instantly. "According to what you said, your boyfriend is working far away. He should be unable to do anything if something happens. Right, pretend to run away a few times to make him relax his guard, and then, since the first failed escape attempt, bodyguards have been following me whenever I go out. But there are always moments of laxity. I really wanted to consider the opinions of the bullet comments, but the bullet comments, which were usually very active, were as if they were dead at this moment. Never mind, I'll do it this way. I took the initiative to make a video call to Wade. It rang for more than 10 seconds before he answered. Wade looked pale and a bit tired, but it didn't affect his handsomeness at all. He was really good looking. It's a pity he's a pervert. I secretly rolled my eyes and asked him in a sweet voice, "Sir, when will you come back?" I elongated the ending sound. With a hint of coquetry, Wade curled his lips and chuckled. "Do you miss me?" I pouted and gave a loud I miss my baby too, Wade sighed, but I haven't finished dealing with things here, so I can't go back. How about you come to me? My eyes suddenly lit up, but then the light in my eyes quickly faded. I said with distress, "Will it bother you, sir?" "No." "Shall I book the ticket for you?" I said with excitement. "I can't wait to see you, sir." That day, I flew along the original route for a while, but during the transfer, I got rid of the bodyguards and changed to another flight. As soon as I landed, Wade's anger was almost uncontrollable. "Baby, you want to run again? Have you forgotten the previous punishment?" I showed him the big and small gift boxes in my hands. "I wanted to pick gifts for you. I'll go home soon. Don't be angry, sir." I obediently took a plane home. I did this several times. At first, Wade was angry, then he became helpless, and finally, there was even a hint of flirting. "You're so naughty, baby. Just wait and see how I'll deal with you when I get back. Can you not let the bodyguards follow me anymore? It's very inconvenient." "All right, finally." The day to run away arrived. Things went unexpectedly smoothly. The moment I got off the plane, there were brilliant fireworks on the bullet comments. "Wow, congratulations to the female lead for successfully escaping the clutches. Let off firecrackers and scatter flowers. It's incredibly smooth. Could Wade be up to something big? Everything is for the best. There's a mole in Wade's company, and he's already in a mess. To be honest, the female lead is just a canary. She can't compare to the company's affairs. Don't worry, it's okay. By the time he realizes it, the female lead will have disappeared without a trace. Can he really cover the sky with one hand? I have to say the female lead is finally smart for once. Great job." My anxious heart finally settled down. I booked a 5-star hotel and took a nice bath. Since I found out that Wade had installed a surveillance camera in the bathroom, I hadn't taken a bath at home once, although Wade and I had seen each other naked countless times. Having a surveillance camera in the bathroom, how perverted does a person have to be to accept that? The warm water sprinkled on my skin, but I shivered for no reason. A month passed since I left, and nothing happened. The next time I got news of Wade was from the news. Wade returned to the country. What made him stand out was an airport photo. In the photo, Wade was like a big star, easily attracting everyone's attention. On his arm was a very beautiful woman. The two looked at each other, their eyes full of smiles, and I had been away for more than a month, and Wade never sent me a single text message or made a phone call. He should be indulging in his new love. That's fine, I'm free. The bullet comments were right. Just got the female lead wrong. My heart twitched a bit, and it hurt. Leaving Wade wasn't just because he was too unrestrained, it was because I found that my feelings in this relationship had changed. When I first got together with him, I was confused but also fortunate. At first, I thought having a backer meant no more hardships. At most, it was just a bit of suffering in bed. After getting a taste of the luxurious and indulgent life of money and materialism, I wanted to hold on to Wade tightly and extract more money and benefits from him. But now, I'm longing for his love. Falling in love with Wade is an easy thing. However, getting Wade's love seems almost impossible. In the heat of passion, I secretly asked him in his ear if he loved me. Wade paused his movements, stared at me deeply for a few moments, then suddenly increased his strength. His eyes were calm, as if mocking my overreaching. I had overstepped. Only by withdrawing in time could I avoid becoming a resentful woman in others' mouths, someone with lofty aspirations. But no means I won't be young forever, but there will always be young girls. Wade is powerful and wealthy. There are countless girls vying for him. I don't want to one day see him holding another girl, looking down at me with contempt. "Get out. You're old and your beauty has faded. You're not worthy to be by my side anymore." How undignified, and how it would hurt my pride. I don't want that. Even a canary has its dignity. I enlarged the photo. Wade's gaze was so gentle and affectionate. It seemed that my choice was right. Those things like the safe, the golden cage, and the surveillance cameras could be left for him and others to play with. Although Wade already had a new canary, I was still afraid of his revenge. So I hid in a small villa for half a month. A new bar opened nearby. I decided to go out and broaden my horizons. But as I was putting on high-heeled shoes, my vision went dark. Oh no. Due to hypoglycemia and physical weakness, I fainted. When I woke up, I saw the familiar bedroom. I almost jumped up, accidentally pulling the needle tube. The devil's voice came from beside me. don't move. The needle tube shifted, and blood started to flow back. I froze in place. Wade tapped my forehead lightly but firmly. I told you not to move. Although his tone was fierce, his actions were gentle. After adjusting the needle tube, he teased, you left for more than 10 days and ended up in such a mess. My heart was pounding. The last time I was caught running away, I was punished for 4 hours. This time, Wade was smiling but with a hidden edge. He was obviously very angry. Since he already had another woman by his side, why was he still holding on to me? I felt like I was in a living hell. Wade seemed to have changed a bit. His aura was fiercer, exuding a decisive and unapproachable temperament. I was a little afraid of him. Wade glanced at me a few times and then turned to leave. When he came back, he had several shiny things in his hands, a collar, ankle chains, bracelets. Wade slowly walked towards me. His lips were particularly red, and his fingertips slowly slid across them, looking like a sickly, charming young man in a novel. I caught you again. You're so naughty, baby. How about locking you up? The items in his hands collided with each other, making a heart-trembling sound. I suddenly burst into tears. Wade clicked his tongue in annoyance. What are you crying for? I haven't done anything to you yet. I'm so wronged. But the tears still fell pattering down. Stop crying and finish your drip properly. Wade tore a piece of paper and wiped my tears for me. He pinched the flesh on my cheek. We'll talk about everything after you recover. Wade got up to pour water. Suddenly, I sneezed. There was no cat at home. Why was there cat hair in the end? Wade didn't use those things on me. One reason was that I was crying so sadly that he probably softened his heart. The other was that I had a low-grade fever. I've always had hypoglycemia, and when it flares up, it's very serious. Wade had special sugar beans made for me. They were sweet and had no medicine taste. After eating them, I rarely had an attack. I forgot to bring them when I ran away and also forgot about my hypoglycemia. The combination of hypoglycemia and fear of Wade made me have a fever. Another reason was that Wade had been too rough before, leaving me a bit weak. The family doctor looked at Wade like he was a beast. Considering Wade's status, his words were very euphemistic. Young master, I understand that you're young and full of vigor, and being more dominant is understandable, but Miss Yu is a bit weak. You need to consider her. Miss Yu was frightened, and the sudden shock caused a low-grade fever. The doctor's voice got softer and softer. Wade was silent for a long time. Then he slowly raised his head, like a waking beast. Got it. All kinds of tonics were placed on the table as if they were free, as if he wanted to fatten me up. I have a small appetite and can get full after just one bite of each dish. Wade kept picking dishes into my bowl. Eat more. I couldn't figure out Wade's attitude towards me at this time, so I didn't dare to disobey him. I slowly ate, a little bit at a time. I lost my previous ease and became more cautious. I was struggling to chew the meat when Wade suddenly put down his chopsticks and strode outside. Soon, the Maybach drove away from the villa. Since that day, I hadn't seen Wade. I recuperated in the villa for a month. The doctor gave me a comprehensive check-up again. That night, in a daze, it seemed that there was a figure sitting by my bedside all night. The next day, I finally saw Wade. There was still a full table of food on the dining table. Wade sat across from me. After I was full, Wade pushed a bank card towards me. Jade, you've left me again and again, and I'm very angry, sir. But considering that you've been with me for 3 years, I won't hold it against you. As you wish. This is the compensation for the 3 years with me. Congratulations. From today on, I'm officially setting you free. I was stunned. Wade had already gotten up and left. His back looked a bit lonely. I was angry and laughed. I was brought back here inexplicably and then dumped. The bullet comments were also full of confusion. Is that it? No golden cage, handcuffs, ankle chains, and small toys in one go. He really let her go. Could it be another trick to deceive the female lead? It doesn't seem like it. Wade looks quite heartbroken. Congratulations to the female lead for successfully escaping the clutches. If it's over, it's over. I don't care. Wade probably really let me go. 3 months passed since I left, and nothing happened. My hanging heart finally settled down. But why did I feel empty in my heart every night? I woke up again, feeling flustered. Suddenly, the door was knocked loudly. I was a little scared. Looking through the peephole, I was shocked to see that it was Wade's personal bodyguard, Li Lin. I was so panicked. Was Wade going to catch me back? I immediately locked the door. My eyes searched the room for items that could be used to block the door. The door was knocked again. Li Lin seemed to know I was behind the door. We came here on our own initiative. Please go back and see the young master. He's in a very bad state now. His voice was urgent and flustered. Wade, what happened to him? My mind was in chaos. The emotions of reluctance and detachment were constantly pulling at me. The young master is in great pain. Please go back and see him. The words "he's in great pain" made all my mental defenses collapse instantly. In the basement of the villa, when I saw Wade's appearance, I was shocked. The white shirt on his body was torn, revealing overly developed pectoral muscles. The veins on his arms were bulging, and his muscles were tense. Pieces of cloth hung around his waist. There were furry ears and a high raised tail. Holy crap, the once gentlemanly Wade had turned into a cat-like gentleman. Could he be a succubus as in the legends? Wade's eyes met mine. A flash of red appeared in his eyes, and then he quickly looked away. Who allowed you to bring her here? The bullet comments exploded. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap, what's going on? I don't understand. Wade is a succubus. How come I didn't know about this at all? The domineering president has transformed into a feline-type hunk. It completely hits my preferences. Who gets it? When I was a child, I raised a cat. When I first picked it up, it was thin and small. I saved my own rations to feed it until it became chubby, but it suddenly disappeared after half a year. They all said it was beaten to death and cooked by others. I was sad for almost half a year seeing Wade. The love for cats that I had been suppressing burst out, as if bewitched. I cautiously approached him, my body trembling with excitement. Wade was panting, using his last bit of willpower to refuse. Go away. If you get any closer, I'll want to. His panting was louder than his words, and his voice was intermittent, something like hurt you by accident. My mind was completely elsewhere. A cat-like gentleman, such a sexy cat. Pay. I wanted to pet him, wanted to. Wade's forehead was sweating. Didn't I tell you to go? Why did you come back? I replied incoherently. Sir, is this your heat period? Wade didn't answer, just kept panting. I squatted beside him, one hand slowly reached towards his big tail, and the other stroked his burning skin. Wade's chest was vibrating violently, and his impulse was on the verge of. His breath was scorching hot. The moment I held his tail, Wade suddenly fainted. I didn't do anything. I quickly got off him. The bodyguards, as if used to it, picked up Wade. I coughed lightly, my face red, and said, carry him back to the bedroom. Li Lin heaved a sigh of relief and immediately ordered others to carry the cat. I had countless questions in my mind. I was about to go back to the bedroom. At this time, a girl came out of another guest room. It was the one who had with Wade. My head was full of question marks, which finally turned into a big exclamation mark. I felt so wrong that I wanted to cry. But she smiled at me. Her eyes were bright. Are you sister-in-law? Julie intimately took my hand and told me a story. More than 20 years ago, an adult succubus came down from the mountain. She fell in love with a big shot in the Shanghai Circle. The succubus was extremely beautiful and bewitched the big shot. During one intimate moment, she accidentally revealed her tail. The big shot was furious and even wanted to kill her. Before taking action, the succubus managed to escape. When she ran away, she was already pregnant. 9 months later, she successfully gave birth to a cat cub on the mountain. When they were together, they had a wild and passionate time, and the man's body had already broken down. By the time he really got married, he was unable to have children. Helplessly, he could only spend a large amount of money to bring the little cub back from the outside. The man hated him very much. He locked the little cub in a dark basement and only let him out when he was 10 years old and could control his body. The little cub had both decisive means and a kind heart. In just 10 years, he continuously expanded his territory and became a top-tier big shot in the Shanghai Circle. The question marks in my head kept increasing. Julie became more and more excited as she spoke. Sister-in-law, brother loves you so much. He wants to keep you by his side, but he's afraid you won't be able to accept him, afraid you'll think he's a monster, afraid he'll hurt you uncontrollably during his special period. He tried every means to drive you away, but when you really left, he couldn't bear it. So he couldn't help but bring you back many times. The last time he really thought it through, but he didn't expect you to come back on your own initiative. Julie clicked on a video. The date was the time when I first ran away. Wade was staring blankly at the home surveillance, his shoulders shaking, crying like a dog. No wonder his eyes were red at that time. I thought it was from anger, but it was actually from crying. I returned to the bedroom. Wade was already awake. His cat ears and cat tail were drooping pitifully. His eyes were deep, and it was hard to tell what emotions he was feeling. What are you coming back for? To accompany you, sir. I'm not leaving. Wade lowered his eyes, as if giving up. Pity me. No, I love you. I took the initiative to straddle his abs. Sir, What did you put in the air? I'm so hot. Wade's breath stopped. Baby, sir. We've tried everything, but not this form of yours yet. My hand slowly moved down. Wade quickly held it, his Adam's apple rolling uncontrollably. Have you thought it through? Once I start, you can't stop me. I've thought it through. Everything was clear now. His attempts to let me go were real. His meticulous planning was real. His reluctance was also real. And his perverted thoughts were real too. The seemingly in control man was actually so conflicted and had secretly planned so much. I took the initiative to kiss his lips. Wade immediately took the lead. I couldn't help but grab his furry ears. When I woke up, Wade was no longer by my side. I cleaned up the fur on my body and dragged my sore body out of the room. Julie was leaning against the door, looking at the messy bed without any restraint. I coughed in embarrassment. Are you also a cat person? Yes. Then during your special period, like Wade's, do you feel very uncomfortable? Very uncomfortable. But brother can endure it better. I'm different from brother. He only has eyes for you. I like a lot of people. Human men are too weak and can hardly satisfy me. Julie's eyes twinkled slyly, and she whispered in my ear, I've kept several men I like in the villa. I change them every day. Wow, my eyes lit up, and I was eager. Can I take a look? Sure. The photo album was full of photos of Julie and her men, including some intimate ones. Bondage, outdoors, me, this is too wild. My face turned red. This one is a popular singer. This one is an internet celebrity, and that one is an idol. Suddenly, Wade's sinister voice came from behind me. Baby, what are you looking at? Looking at handsome guys. After learning Wade's feelings from his sister, I'm no longer afraid of him at all. He cares about me. He loves me, taking advantage of his love. I'm not afraid of him now. Wade firmly held my waist. Baby, don't look at them. Look at me. Under Julie's teasing gaze, Wade carried me back to the room. I was in a daze. Still immersed in the world of various handsome men. It wasn't until Wade transformed into having furry ears and a tail. Wow. I held his cat ears, loving them so much. Do you like them that much? I nodded vigorously. A look of annoyance flashed across Wade's face. I thought you didn't like them. How could that be? I love cats the most. They're so furry, so handsome. I spared no praise for Wade. He's different from us, and he might feel inferior. I should praise him more to make him competent. Wade stared at me quietly for a while, then suddenly put his hand in front of me. I immediately became alert. What are you trying to do, baby? Cats like to need. You can't suppress my instincts. I reluctantly withdrew my hands that were playing with his tail and protested in a low voice. But the cat's partner doesn't like it. Wade chuckled. Be good, baby. My ears felt tingly, and under his bewitchment, I did a lot of embarrassing things since growing the cat ears and tail. Wade's pectoral muscles have become terrifyingly developed, more than twice as big as before. Wade pressed my head against his chest. I struggled with a blushing face, and he secretly whispered in my ear that I was a little baby who liked to suckle. After everything was over, I lazily lay in Wade's arms. The bullet comments that had been silent for a long time became lively again. The female lead is having a great time. Do you understand what you're having? Let me have a taste. What on earth is going on? I'm confused too. Never mind what's going on, as long as the female lead is happy. Catty, is it like this every time during your special period? Why haven't I seen it before? Wade said in a muffled voice. It wasn't like this before. I just felt a little uncomfortable occasionally. After meeting you, I can't control my hormones. When I see you, I want to be intimate, want to stick to you. I recalled our previous indulgences, and my face turned even redder. Indulging occasionally is okay. I like it too, but you do it every day. Even if I were made of iron, I couldn't take it. Not to mention I'm just a weak woman, baby. I can't help it. Wade buried his face in my neck. You smell so good, and your body is so soft. I can't resist at all. I held his ears. You have to resist even if you can't help it. After fooling around for a while, I pulled Wade to see the legendary golden cage on the second floor. Wade had no choice but to open 3 locks. I took one look and then averted my eyes. It was too embarrassing, too perverted. After falling asleep with a blushing face, I had a dream. The cat that was eaten had only a skeleton left. It climbed over mountains and ridges, covered in mud. It let out a few shrill meows, and blood, tears flowed from its eye sockets. Little master, why did you lose me? Why don't you want me anymore? More and more blood, tears flowed down its face, pooling on the ground. The blood-covered face finally turned into Wade's face. I woke up in a cold sweat, and my hand holding the tail tightened involuntarily. Wade hissed, his voice slightly hoarse. Baby, Do you need a spanking? I sniffled, feeling very sad. Catty, I had a nightmare. Wade rubbed my little head. What did you dream about? I dreamed about you, Wade. I covered my chest with a lingering fear after a long silence. Wade lifted his eyelids. Baby, is there a possibility that the cat isn't dead? Ah, now it was my turn to be surprised. Wade held me on his lap and pressed me against his chest. Are you surprised, baby? Of course I was surprised. I had very complicated feelings for that cat, from picking it up, raising it, to its disappearance. I had invested so much. How could it be Wade after all these twists and turns? At that time, I regained some strength and suddenly turned back into a human, afraid of scaring you. I slipped away secretly, then I was picked up by my father. I felt extremely heartbreaking. Did you suffer a lot? For Catty, who was different from ordinary people, with his father's dislike, mother's indifference, a strange home, and the fame and fortune-filled Shanghai, it wasn't bitter. I thought about giving my little master a good life, so nothing was bitter. The bullet comments scrolled frantically. Wow, childhood sweethearts, so cute. The female lead has finally turned the tables. She must ravage him well. Remember the 4 hours locked in the study, lock him in there too. I never thought our fate had started so early. It seemed that all the mysteries were being solved one by one. But what was up with the bullet comments? I muttered in a low voice. Wade was surprised. Baby, what are you talking about? What bullet comments? Wade didn't seem to know anything about it. I didn't dwell on it either. Everything was for the best. The bullet comments were just part of my play with Catty. Wade and I went to Julie's house as guests. There was a row of handsome guys sitting across from us, and I was stunned again. There were all kinds of types, muscular guys, cute puppies, older men, younger men. There were so many good-looking people. Julie entertained me with delicious food and drinks, and then the brother and sister pair exchanged glances and walked to the balcony out of alertness. I quietly followed them. Wade's tone was cold. The foreign inspection has made progress. I'll go abroad again in a few days. You accompany sister-in-law well. Don't let her think too much. Julie was a bit helpless. Brother, do you really have to have this surgery? What if you don't come back? There's no what if. I'm different from normal people. She's just attracted to me for now because of the novelty. What if she gets tired of me over time? Julie, who loved to watch the excitement, said, if she doesn't like you, lock her up. You really want to lock her up, right, brother? Wade did want to. He wanted to lock her slender wrists and ankles with chains, lock her in a golden cage made of pure gold, leave marks all over her white skin, use the gadgets in the safe to send her to paradise. But he couldn't bear to. A rose should bloom brightly in a broader world, shining dazzlingly. It shouldn't be imprisoned in a golden cage to satisfy his. He could hide those dirty and perverted thoughts that couldn't be spoken out well, as long as she didn't dislike him, didn't fear him, and could stay by his side all the time. Wade looked into the distance. I can't bear to. So, there was more to the overseas trip. He was looking for a professional medical team to explore the structure of his body, trying to become a normal person. His fatigue, haggardness, and paleness were now explainable. But I love him. I don't love him because he's a normal person. I love all his appearances. Back in the car, my eyes were red. Catty, I overheard what you said to your sister. What do you want to do to your body? Wade seemed to not expect me to have heard those words and was uncharacteristically silent. I felt so heartbreaking. A man who had reached the peak of power, how could he be troubled by such a thing? In the end, love made him feel inferior. Catty, I'm warning you, you're not allowed to do anything that harms your body. But, no buts. My face turned red. I really like your ears, tail, and big pectoral muscles. I swallowed. Wade raised his eyebrows. Do you really like them? I nodded vigorously, a bit shy. I like them very much. It's very comfortable. I held out my little finger. Catty, promise me you won't do anything stupid secretly. Wade hesitated for a while, and finally hooked his finger gently with mine. No matter what Catty looks like, I like you the most. The end.